Hello, creative people. Welcome to Creative Conversations. My name is Hala Citron, and we are so happy that you have chosen to spend your time with us. I am owner and founder of I Am Creative and Express Yourself Publishing, and I am on a mission to expand the definition of creativity beyond a pencil and a paintbrush and to empower people, especially adults, to own their voices and talents that come in so many different forms. This space was created to talk to people with all different kinds of jobs, hobbies, and interests, and to have conversations about experiences and perspectives, all centered around three questions. How do you define creativity? How do you incorporate it into your life? And why do you think it's important? Then we have a free-flowing conversation and we see where it goes. So I have had the opportunity to speak to so many. I've spoken to musicians, comedians, doctor, lawyer, wrestlers, Reiki masters, and entrepreneurs as young as 13. And these conversations explore the reality that creativity is not cute, it is necessary. People have defined creativity as that magic spark, how we show up in our life, imagination, basically all that we are and want to be, do, or have. So I believe from my heart that sharing these stories gives one the ability to expand their thinking, open themselves up for more self-expression, to feel more empowered, connected, and dare I say, happy. So my inspiring guest for today is Skylar. She is the co-founder and content and digital director for the boutique online business development company, Capitalize on Your Uniqueness. For over 15 years, Allie and her couplepreneur husband, Jamie Greenberg, have been helping purpose and passion-driven emerging and expert entrepreneurs learn how to package, market, and monetize their expertise into high-level coaching and training platforms to jumpstart or scale their online business. Allie, so much to talk about. Welcome to the space. Come on up.
Hey, Hollis, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Allie. So
Woo-hoo!
good to hear you. Yay, you did it. Yay. So, happy March.
Thank you. Same to you. Oh my God, March 1st. Crazy.
March 1st, and so grateful to have you as my first guest in the month of March.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to
And
be here. Very exciting.
it's going to be a great conversation. So, before we dive in and learn more about what you do and who you are and your
Yeah.
story, is there some kind of fun fact that you would like to share with us before we dive in?
Fun fact. Well, I just learned how to play pickleball.
Uh,
And friends of ours flew us down to Florida for my husband's birthday, and it was so cool. And they taught us how to play. And we haven't played racket sports in like 15 years because Jamie actually hurt his shoulder. But I had such a blast. So now I'm coming home, and I'm ready to get into pickleball. So that's kind of a new fun fact for me.
I love that. It's so funny. It became the craze during COVID. And I actually heard, I think it was on NPR or something, like the person who kind of created pickleball was telling the story about where it came from, that it was something that his parents created kind of as something to keep them busy. And it kind
Interesting.
of grew from there. So why don't you tell us before we move on, for anybody who doesn't know about pickleball, what is the difference between that and badminton or tennis?
Well, it's basically you're like on a tennis court, and I'm not a big tennis player, but it seems to be a smaller court. And what's interesting to me is I don't understand why this became such a big sport in the pandemic because you're actually playing closer to each other than you were if you're playing tennis. Where
Right.
tennis, you tend to you're back at the end of the court. This, like everybody's supposed to move up to the net and play right off of the net. So I haven't done my research yet, but it's one of the things I'm going to try to do on the weekend is really find out. First of all, the name is pickleball. I can't figure out how that came about. And then part of the court's called the kitchen. I mean, there's things there that are kind of befuddling my brain, but I hope to get more information on the weekend. But it was fun. I had such a good time. So anyway,
I
it's
love it.
very cool.
I love it. Yeah, on this NPR episode, they were talking about how that all came about, but I don't remember. They were talking about the scoring. I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. It seems really confusing. But
It
people
does.
apparently were really gravitating towards this it sounded like it was giving people a window into a lot of people saying, well, I don't like tennis, I don't like badminton, but I like this.
Well,
So
you know what it was for us? My husband can't, he's got a bad shoulder, so he can't play tennis because he can't raise his arm over his head. Pickleball, you're basically playing close to your chest. So you
mm,
don't have to, there's not as much arm extension, at least for him and when we were playing. And I have to tell you, we did not learn scoring. All I did was learn where to hit the ball, how to hit the ball, and that I can hit the ball. That was pretty exciting. I haven't. And then it's so funny. Our friend, who's really pretty brilliant, was trying to explain the scoring to me, and it went. I can pick up things. I did not get it, so that's the next thing I also have to learn too is how to
yeah.
score. So.
So my takeaway from all this, first of all, I want to give a little sound effect for some cheering here.
Very cool.
Trying different things and learning that something can be fun. And sometimes when somebody gets into the details of it, like, well, this is how you score and this is how you do this, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
really confusing to me, but I do know that I'm enjoying this moment. So let's just stay in the moment
That's
of
kind of
this.
what I did. I was like, let's do the scoring next year when we come to visit. Let me just get playing here and figuring out how to use the racket because you use it a little differently than a tennis racket, and I think the hardest part for us was adjusting to 84-degree weather. It's like your body has to adjust to being in that heat and stuff. But anyway, that was really fun. I'm excited about that, and it's evidently a very social sport. So my friend who was watching my dog for me while we were gone knows all about it. So I have a feeling I'm going to start getting into some pickleball routines here.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that was a really
Sure.
great way to start it off because I think it kind of just goes back to this whole concept to the conversation on opening up with this what this word creativity means and
Yeah.
taking it to that next step is doing things that are fun and not worrying
Yes.
about the rules and well this is how you score and this is what you do this. It's like, okay, we want to have fun. We're adjusting to being in a new space and we're socializing and we're engaging and we're enjoying each other's company and I think that just kind of opens a really nice window of the conversation. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no, very, very much so. It was great point. Great point about that too. Yeah, we got a little sunburn, but next time I'll get a better suntan lotion when I pick a ball.
The whole thing with weather, that's a whole separate topic is
Oh
how
yeah,
to like what you prepare for and how your body needs to, transition and all this kind
yeah,
of stuff. It's
yeah. It's
yeah,
true.
it's a lot of
It's very,
stuff.
very
So
true.
okay, so I personally love your content because I love what I call this transform crap into a holy shift.
Oh, thank you.
But let's start off with the question that I ask everybody to begin with, which is how do you define creativity?
Well, it's really interesting, Hollis, that you asked me that because after we first talked, and I was understanding the content that you wanted to go over with this in this podcast, is that I was thinking about that, and then I've been studying A Course in Miracles, and I listened to this gentleman named Reverend Tony who does different video sessions and talks about different lessons in the book. And he talked about the creative process, which was a very different way for me to think about creativity. Because for me, usually creativity, being a creative person, is you're involved in some kind of creative activity, songwriting, artistic, you're drawing, you're dancing, you're writing a book, whatever that may be. But and I'm going to kind of get long-winded here. For me, one of the frustrations or the ah crap I've been experiencing the last couple of years is as our business has been growing so much, I've had less time to put into my quote unquote creative process, which for me was always songwriting, writing blogs, doing things from a more writing perspective. So I was
Mhm.
feeling a little down on myself. And then Reverend Tony started talking to me about the creative process for all of us. We're in it every moment because we have these beliefs that then create these thoughts, that then create these behaviors, that then create these outcomes. And that was the creative process of the way he described it based on A Course in Miracles. And I was like, oh man, that's so freaking cool. So even if I'm not writing a song, or even if I'm not doing my, blog or posts or whatever, I am constantly every moment of the day in this creative process. And
Mm.
I loved that definition of the creative process. And I can't, again, it's not mine. It's from A Course in Miracles, because it allowed me to open up to creativity as being a part of every moment of my life. So I
Hmm.
would have to say for me, creativity or the creative process has become more of that, change your thinking, change your life, or focusing and being aware of how your thoughts are affecting your energy and how that's affecting your emotion and how that's affecting what you do and how you experience your day. So I hope that kind of makes sense there.
Totally does. And thank you for all of that because I could not agree more. And that's what it is in this whole concept of the expansion is to me creativity it's life.
Yeah.
It is like it's in all of the moments and we get to choose even though a lot of times we don't feel like we get to choose. There
Mm,
is choice in how we can in what clothes we choose to put on our body, how we do our hair, if we put makeup on or not, what conversations we have, words we choose to use, people we interact with and how we interact with them. I see these as I see it as a movie.
yeah.
It's kind of like choosing characters and acting as in a character in a role,
Mm,
and that everything's changeable. But I also see them all as sculptures because I see them as malleable, and
yes.
they can
Nice.
literally be carved into and shaped in like clay. It can be hands in the clay. They can be created. So I think the freedom. I love what you got from this course that you're in
Mm.
this expansion of understanding that the creative process is in every moment.
Yeah, every moment. It's just been a very different way to experience the day as a creative person as opposed to being a creative artist. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
A creative person as opposed to a creative artist.
Yes.
And I've been just trying to revel in that more, as I still am looking for different ways to create time and space to get back to my creative artist experience.
Hmm. That's yeah. Thank you for that because I think that's a really great differentiation of creative person and creative artist.
Mm,
It's giving. It's not taking because what I'm trying to do and being an art teacher for 30 years and going to art school and all of that.
yeah.
What I'm trying to do is not take accolades or acknowledgement of these talents from people, whether it be the visual arts, music, acting, whatever's labeled as a quote unquote creative art process. But what this space is fully about is about the understanding that each and every person is a creative person because you have the ability to express, you have the ability to create at every moment. You
Yes.
have the ability to create these moments and when you are aware that you can create these moments, it's freaking life changing.
Yeah, and it's very revelatory when you can, I'm going to step back a bit. When we work with our clients, one of the things we always encourage for them, because we're all about working with their uniqueness to really find their differentiator and figure out how to kind of fuel that into all their work. But, for us, we tell them that, being creative is a practice. You need to show up every day. Okay, there's a difference for me in like doing a creative practice where I'm showing up and I'm writing and I'm, really allowing those divine downloads to kind of come and express them and so forth, as opposed to being a creative, doing a creative daily life, like you just said. Like everybody is creative. And there's so many times you hear people say, "Oh, I'm not creative," and it's like,
Yeah.
we're all creative and we're all creators, right?
Mhm.
That's to me, that's the way we've been manifested as the beings that we are here on the planet. So it's been a nice. I've been noticing a nice shift in consciousness too, and that I think people are understanding that a lot more too. I think as people become more aware and open their consciousness to different ideas and different ways in which we, can function and be as human beings or human doing beings, then I think there's been much more of an awareness that we are creative in everything we do and that we are all creators.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Allie, why don't you take us on? I know this is a little open ended, but wherever you want to start in this, maybe take us on a journey of how you got from whatever point you want to start of where you'd been in this thinking about creativity and your process and your growing up or whatever to where you are now. If you could take us on a little journey, and then obviously getting into the transforming the crap into a holy shift.
Oh, so you mean just starting with my childhood kind of thing, the interests, and then where'd that move to, and then coming here? Or like, where would you like me to start?
That's what I was saying. I know it's open ended, but wherever you
Let's start with
feel,
tomorrow, yesterday.
wherever you feel you want to take us on a little journey to help
Sure.
get you to where
Well,
you are now.
I think, my blessing and my curse has been that I've always been able to really tune into my left and my right brain. So I grew up very creative. I was a musician. I loved to write songs on the piano. I loved to take dance class. But I was also a really good student academically. So I had a very intellectual school experience as well as being an artist. And I think that there was a point along the line where I started to veer away from my creativity and got more into the intellectual because there was concern about making a living. How am I going to support myself? The whole thing where you go to college and then you become an adult and, what are you going to do kind of thing.
Right.
Um, so I ended up going into arts administration, and then I worked more in the corporate world than I did as an artist. I was a French horn player, classical French horn player in high school, decided not to go to Juilliard. I really didn't like the whole competitive industry of being a musician, so it kind of turned me off. And then I met my husband, who was like total opposite of me. He was a musician, a performer, an entrepreneur, had a whole different way of approaching life. And he really influenced me in terms of I didn't have to follow the dictates of the quote unquote usual path in which most people do, find a job, make a living, based on security and safety and so forth. So he really got me into the whole entrepreneurial mindset. And then at the same time, I was just kind of writing songs and writing music, and he was performing. And then we ended up putting together we wrote a musical together. And he went out and he was the performer for our show, and I did all the business and I managed it. And again, using both my left and right brain, we're very creative in terms of writing all the music, the storyline. We put the whole show together. And then for 15 years, we toured that all over the country and made a living as artists. And so being able to do both the business and the artist side really served both of us, because both of us are good business people in terms of being able to make a living as an artist. And then it just evolved into, I started writing kids music. I love to write kids music. Then we had children, and my kids are both artists. My son's a producer and a singer-songwriter and a DJ. My daughter's a musical theater performer and has her own wedding dance business. She teaches wedding dance. So we're all entrepreneurs and all artistic. And I think getting to transforming Ahh Crap into a holy shift over, God, is it 15 years ago? 12, 15 years? Oh my God. I was going through a rough patch. And I remember I was seeing a therapist. She said, why don't you just start writing it all down? So I started writing. And I started sharing a lot of my essays and so forth with my husband, who started laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? This is like serious shit going on here. I'm having a rough time. And I have to say, my husband's always been very supportive of me. So it's not like I have that kind of, you don't understand me kind of thing. So he said, no, it's just that even when you're in angst, you're always funny, and you can always bring out like the humorous kind of, personal growth side of it. So I started writing a book, and I wrote a book called Life Sucks. Just kidding. And that kind of started me on a trajectory where I did a one-woman show with it. I did actually only one performance, but it was very exciting that I actually did that, because I'm not as much of a performer. I'm more of the behind the scenes person. I'm the writer, the producer, director. I don't really perform, but I had a great time just being able to bring that to life for one evening performance, which is exciting. And was hoping to maybe take that on the road and do more things, but life just didn't show up in that way. And then I started writing a musical called What About Me, which is all about women in their late 40s who are, we've been moms, we've been working, and we've put something that's really important to us to the side and haven't really been able to, bring that to life yet. And how do you finally find yourself again and start working on your passion again? So it's all about a working mom who decides to quit her job and write a musical and throws her family into total disarray. So that was a project where I got a couple shows up, and then I was trying to look for producers and some investors, and the pandemic hit and theater kind of got a whack. So that was a little tough. So that was another project I put together. And then I had always been writing my blog, Transforming Ahh Crap into Whole Shift, which was really, it's titled Sucky To Soulful. Because I think my journey for me as an artist has always been, how do you deal with the sucky? Like, what the hell do you do? What are the tools that we have? What are the different ways that we manage that? So, I've been a real personal growth junkie, doing a lot of reading, getting involved with a lot of different teachers, and trying to just figure out what the quote unquote truth is here, at least for me, and how to be able to bring that here to the planet as I exist in physical form, or until I transition to the next whatever it is I'm going to. So yeah, so that's, and now I work with our husband. My husband and I have our business, Capitalizing Uniqueness. We've been doing that for over 12 years, and that's really where our bread and butter is. Where we work with coaches, authors, speakers, consultants to really help them kind of bring their passion to life and really figure out, who they are, what makes them special, and how they can infuse that into all of their work and their signature work in a way that they can really make an impact on the planet. Because a lot of people we work with are very mission driven, very, very mission driven entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there's so much to talk about.
How did I do? Did I go on and on too much? Or was that too much? Not enough? I hope that was
No, this
okay.
was incredible.
I tried to make it concise.
This is a conversation. We're sitting around a table having a conversation, and you put so many areas, so many topics out there that I'm going to go with. But some of the things about your musical and all that, I'm just going to put to the side for a minute, because I want to give a little bit more time into this space that you've created for people. I know that you said like vision, purpose, passion. Can you just tell us like a little bit, like how do you help your clients in this way to discover their uniqueness?
Well, I think the first thing we do, and I think the gift of being a writer is I understand the value of sitting down and taking the time to answer questions. Because if someone asks you a question and you need to then respond, it brings up a lot of information that sometimes you're not even aware of. Like I know as a writer, sometimes when I'm sitting down to write something, like, oh my God, where did that come from? I didn't even know I had that in my consciousnness. So the first thing we do with our clients is we have a huge questionnaire that only takes them 3 years to answer. Yes, they have to go 3 years to answering that, and then we can work with them. No, it's like questions that for us, are helping to reveal really who they are on a very personal and professional level. So we can start to then see many pieces of who they are. Because if we don't understand who they are, like we don't separate professional and personal, because we feel we're all holistic beings. We bring everything to what we do every day. So for us, it's not about just asking professional questions. It's really, we try to ask questions that are going to give us a sense of what's important to this person. What are their values? What are their beliefs? What are some of the things that they have, they want to do with their life? Where do they see themselves in terms of how they communicate and relate to other people? So for us, it's about, asking questions. And then what I'm finding is that when people answer these questions, there's stuff that comes up for them that they may not always be aware is there. We call them, gems of brilliance that they may be overlooking or not able to see because they just haven't been asking themselves the right questions. So that's kind of where we first start with.
And it's so important, right? Because we are our business.
Yeah.
So when it is yours, we are our business. And what I find in this whole entrepreneurship journey is that when we are not truly being, I love that aspect of creating this questionnaire of really, and listening, of having people go beyond the surface, because we can compare, we can be like, oh, I really like the way they did it. So, this is obvious, everybody, we've heard this and talked about it, but it's just bringing up the point of, oh, well, they're obviously successful at that. And I like that approach. So I want to do something like that.
Right.
Well, that's great if that feels like it's kind of really vibing and your what you want to express, what you want to. But if you are coming at it a space of jealousy or, okay, well, they're successful and I want to be successful, that's not doing anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, what What I get very excited about, we tend to work with professionals who've been working, they're professionals. They've been doing business for a while, whether they're in a corporate and they're looking to move into an entrepreneur space, or they're an entrepreneur and they're stuck. It's really exciting to me when I see these people get excited about something new, and they get stimulated by something new that they didn't even realize what that they had, that
Yeah.
they can now bring to the table. And the thing that I love to do is, for me, because I'm the content developer, so when we work to put it together, we have something called a signature work platform, a signature program guide. We do webinars. I do a lot of content work with my clients, but it's really about, so many people have great ideas and great expertise, but they don't know how to put it into a methodology. So for
Hmm.
me, it's about helping them mold it, like you said before, sculpting, molding, making something really work, so that they have a system, they have a process, they have a journey they can take their clients on, or they're doing a presentation they can take their audience on, that really makes sense and really relates to exactly how they want to help people. And for
Hmm.
me, it's not so much about, it's not my ideas that I'm working with these people on. It's really about pulling out stuff from them and showing them that this, we can put this together in this way, and this is how it's going to work so much better, where you'll be able to really communicate exactly what it is that you want to do with people in that way. So what gets very exciting for me is when people like get excited by the new things in themselves that they can bring to the table. That's what I love to see. I love to see someone go, oh wow, that's so cool, and it's so cool it's theirs. So they
Yeah.
can really own it, and it's their baby, and they've birthed it. And that's really, to me, what we try to do here. It's not so much tell them what to do or give them the information they need to do it with, but to guide them into pulling out really potent material within themselves that
Yeah.
can now be brought out into the light and really help them stand out in their market.
The words that just really resonated in what you said was guide and
Yep.
pulling out.
Yep.
And I just think that's important to accentuate and have people understand that, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through this process, we can get stuck in the tunnel. And
Yeah.
that's like we know what we're passionate about, but then the beauty is this outside voice uh, being the guide and really pulling out, like you said, these gems. Because as we just do a spew, whether it's on paper or auditory, or you're just yelling it out, talking it out, or you're just talking, that's where the gems are. And it's like, oh, let's get beyond just the surface. Let's kind of really get at the core of, like, what is my why, where are things coming from.
Yeah. And I see it very much similar to parenting. Because for me, parenting was very much about really exposing my kids to a lot of different things, and then seeing where they got excited, seeing where they got a hit, seeing where they were interested in doing that, and really just, helping them step into the different stages of how to develop that interest or that passion. So for me, it's very much about, if you make coaching about the other person, then it becomes, for me, a very meaningful experience. I'll
Mhm.
never forget one of our clients, who I was working with. All of a sudden, I'm getting all these messages on my phone that he's calling me, and I couldn't pick up. And I'm like, what the frick is going, what? I hope he's, what's going on? He never calls me, you know,
Mhm.
but he wanted to tell me when he got his first $10,000 client. He needed to tell me in person. He was
Mhm.
just so excited about it. And it was so rewarding that he did that for himself. And then also, I just loved that he wanted me to know. He wanted to personally tell me, and appreciated the role that Jamie and I played in helping him to get to that point. So, and it's like when your kid comes home and they get really excited. They just wrote a song, like my kids are songwriters. They just wrote a song and they have to play it for you and you have to listen to it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so wonderful when people want to share the things that make them feel really great about being here on the planet.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's when it's about them, because you're here for them and you're present. And that's the thing, in that kind of, in everything that you do, it's you're being present for these people to show up in a vulnerable, and in any of these coaching situations and everything, it's vulnerable.
It
And
is very, and it
you're
can be uncomfortable too. I always tell my clients when I start working with them with the content, I'm like, look, just be ready Comfortable being uncomfortable for a little bit until you get the process and we get it all down, but just hang in there. But I tell people, and I might told my kids too, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes if you want to create something new.
Yes.
Not always comfortable, but it
Thank
can
you.
happen, you know?
Yeah, I say that as, yeah, share that quote often. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because when you're growing and expanding
Yeah.
and exploring and giving yourself permission to mess up and really finding more balance and or harmony, whatever you want to call it. It's there's so much. It's like, well, is this working or it's not working? And what have I been doing? There's the side of, oh my God, okay, I have this business. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not getting, like, obviously I'm doing something wrong, and I'm not getting to people and they're not responding, and da, 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 and all of these things that obviously feel like crap. There's the crap. And then there's that shift
Yes.
when in what you're helping them do, to be able to be like, oh, so this is really the verbiage that is I should be saying more, or this is really more specific so people understand what I'm talking about, because maybe I'm talking too much
Right.
and they don't understand what I'm saying. There's just so much, but when that holy shift happens, that feels amazing.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? I love that. I love that moment. Well, what's really interesting to me, because we work with quote unquote adults, people, I would say, we work with people from 40 on up. It's really fascinating to me sometimes when I see these professionals that have been in business for a long time and they get so excited. And it's like this childlike, oh my God, this is so cool. And I can just see what these people look like when they were 7 or 8 years old, when they were they were a kid and they're like, and it's just, I love those little moments. I like that little moments when you can see the childlike wonder and excitement in an adult's face or an adult's expression. It just, that when that happens, it's working and it's right.
That's yes. And you know what, adults, that needs to happen more.
Yeah.
Like, get over this whole adulting thing.
Yeah.
Well, Hollis, I have responsibility. I have a family, or I'm, single. I have a mortgage and I have bills and I have this and I have that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, can we just get over ourselves? And
It's true.
can we incorporate, like you're saying, this excitement, this wonder, this curiosity, this play into the moments?
Yeah.
And
No.
everybody, you might be like, that's so cheesy. That's so, oh, but you know what? As you're drinking your drink, whatever it is in the morning, like, actually enjoy the taste of it and smile.
Yeah. Well,
If you,
smiling is a yoga pose, too. Smiling, it's like when and I'll never forget someone telling me this. When you smile, your whole energy in your body changes. It's really interesting. Just that little act of smiling kind of thing. So,
it does,
yeah.
it takes you, and breathe, like, get beyond the shallow breath and get to a deeper breath, like, actually get oxygen into your body.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many ways to really just kind of get centered in the moment. And yeah, I can't express enough. I love that you brought up about those childlike moments, because that's so much of what I see also
Yeah.
is, yeah, when people become less serious and less critical, there's so much expansion and growth
It
that
makes it,
happens in there.
and it's so funny. Sometimes you have to wear people down, because we have a client who's really like serious and quiet and, but now after 3 months, every time Jamie gets on the phone, because Jamie's a little kooky too at times, Jamie just cracks him up. He just starts laughing. And I love seeing him laugh, because when we do videos with him in the beginning, it's so different than now. Like in the beginning, it was so serious. And, by the time now he can do some videos, he can smile, he can be a little joyful. And it's just so nice to see that you know, it's nice to see that transformation in a person. Not everybody's like that, but I'm just saying we do have a client who started out very serious and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
took us a while to get to him, but we did get to him and it's very exciting to see him loosen up and relax a little bit.
Well, you've created the safe space for him to feel like he can.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, and it's just, and we're both very relaxed and comfortable. We don't go into the hoity toity place that some people do. So I
Hmm.
think I like that. I just, it's nice because if we relax like that, it gives other people like you said, it gives them the freedom to also feel like they can relax as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't have to prove anything. They don't have
Yeah.
to
No.
ha- have a certain veneer of, oh, this is who I am and I'm so successful and this is what I do. When on
Right.
the inside, they're like, help.
That's right. Very, very true.
Oh,
Very
please.
true.
So, okay, Allie. So let's kind of the second question, and you've kind of framed some things, but this is where I wanted to kind of address some of the things before, which is the question is, how do you incorporate more creativity into your own life?
Mhm.
And you're going to answer this, but I really would love to hear about like you did a one woman show,
Yeah.
like
Well, just for one night, remember, I wanted to make it bigger, but it just happened for one night.
yeah, but
Yeah.
how did
That
that
was a tough one.
feel?
It was really pretty spectacular because I'm not really a performer. And what I did was I took my book and I had essays in it and I read the essays and then after each of the essays incorporated, I've been writing music for the last 40 years. So I then would pick out songs that I've written and I would read an essay and then I would have my friend Barbara sing the song that would relate to that essay, that topic. So I kind of made it, a reading of an essay, then a song, and then reading of an essay, then a song, and so forth. So it was kind of a mini musical.
Hmm.
And it was pretty spectacular for me because I think part of me was like, no, I can't do that. No, I don't do that. And my husband's really been good at pushing me when I'm not comfortable to do something like that. So he really pushed me to do that. And he also then, after I did the show, pushed me to do my blog, pushed me. I wrote a course, 7-week course based on transforming Ahh Crap and totally shift. So he pushed me to do a lot of things that I don't think I would have done if he hadn't done that. So he really worked for me as a muse way back when to really get this stuff together. The musical was pretty much I was ready to go and I knew what I had to do now and I'd stepped more into my creative process. Um, but it was really it was an incredible memory. So I'm proud of myself for doing it and I got a great response. And there's nothing better than when you write something and people say, yeah, I like that. That was really cool. I
Hmm.
enjoyed that a lot. So that was really wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a very important point that you just brought up to reinforce that again, get comfortable with the uncomfortable
Yeah.
because you put yourself in a situation where and it could have very well gone the other direction of, I don't do that. I write the content and someone else performs it.
Yeah.
And this is where, not to get dark, but on our deathbed, this is where people feel this stuff where they're like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
wish I did that.
Yeah.
I wish I did that."
Yeah.
Um, so good for you. Kudos to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's definitely moments and there's moments that I can look back and say, yeah, I did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and you're getting kudos from Darcy said Allie is so inspiring and talented.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Darcy.
So
Yeah,
true.
appreciate that comment.
So, Allie, why don't you tell us now, kind of like where you are at this moment in your window of lifetime? How do you incorporate more creativity into your world?
Well, I think as I said in the beginning, I'm a little frustrated right now. I'm not exactly sure where to go. I usually am creative when I have a project to work on.
Hmm.
And, part of me is just like, I have this musical, I could go out and try to keep getting it. I've spent a lot of time trying to get backers, trying to get investors, trying to get it out there. And it's still business. It's not being the creative mode. So, um, I'm trying to figure out now what I really want to do that's gonna that's gonna really feed my creative needs or my creative soul. Do I just want to sit and write songs? Do I want to write kids books? I have some kids books I want to write. Do I want to, write another musical? I'm a little lost right now, also because not lost. I shouldn't say lost. Just figuring it out. I'm in the process of figuring it out.
Hmm.
So for me, as I said from at the beginning, I've been focusing more on looking at each moment as the creative process. So whether I'm, growing some orchids or whether I'm grooming my dog, whether I'm talking to a client, whether I'm creating dinner, whatever it may be, I'm trying to work more to see myself as a creative person and not just a creative artist. Because for me, there was once the pandemic hit, there was like grief. There was like I felt like I lost part of myself because theater had such a bad hit. It was very tough.
Hmm.
Um, So that's where I had to readjust a little bit in terms of what creativity means to me and how I'm going to work to be creative. So I would say I am working to be creative in every moment. Even in this conversation, to me, this is a conversation where, we're having a conversation with questions and ideas that we haven't done before, right? So it's like, just as we're talking, I'm even stepping back and seeing what new things can come up for me that I can share that might also be a creative expression of myself and my ideas.
Mm, I love that. And yes, it's all in. And this is what I want people to hear. And then I see that Dorothy wrote, I'm sorry, Darcy, you wrote something, and I'm going to look at it in a minute. But the moments, growing orchids, grooming the dog, creating dinner, conversation. These are the moments that we create. And it's this is helps tell our story. It helps create our movie. And you can choose what your movie is. You can choose if it's a drama, if it's a horror movie, if it's a romantic comedy, if it's comedy, if it's all of those above. um I
I
don't know,
think
that's
too,
just
as you're
kind of came
saying that
through.
though, I think what I'm realizing is that I'm learning how to be with myself in a different kind of way
Hmm.
that I haven't been before. Because for me, creativity was also very involved with business, making a living, creating a project.
Yeah.
Um, I'm starting to, and this is probably just the second part of my answer to your question, I'm
Hmm.
starting to figure out how I can be creative just for the sake of enjoying being creative, as opposed to writing a musical. Or, like I said, my husband and I for 15 years had a musical we worked uh, toured throughout the country. That was our business.
Right.
Or, writing my musical was part of creating another part of my business. So that's where I think, as you're asking the question, I'm realizing that I'm trying to learn how to just be creative for the sake of being creative
Yeah.
and enjoying that, as opposed to what project can I work on where I have to get it out there and share it and other people have to hear it and so forth.
Which, and Darcy responded by saying, maybe sit in meditation and open to the universe for the impactful download. Trust and
Yes.
allow for divine direction.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Darcy. I do that as well. And I also, um, I listen at all different times. If I'm driving, if I'm cooking, I just try to be open as much as I can when I have those moments too. But very good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Darcy. And it just really is, in stating what you just said of being creative just to be.
Mm,
It's in it when you are within that, creative for a living. And then you're changing the gears to how can I just create without having to have an outcome,
right.
without having to make it money, without having it's just bringing me pure enjoyment. It's just
Yeah.
making me laugh. It's making me feel quiet. It's making me whatever you want to feel from that. We it's funny, like as a family. So my kids are older,
Yeah.
in the sense of soon to be 20 and 23. One time I was just all of a sudden, they do live at home still, and I was like, everybody come downstairs. And I said, we're gonna hula hoop. And they're like, what are you, they're like, what are you doing? and, and I happen to have a hula hoop in the living room. It's now down in my office. And I was like, oh no, let's just hula hoop. And it ended up it was this spontaneous thing that turned into so much fun. It was like this divine idea of just like, okay, let's just do this activity. No thought went into it besides just acting on it spontaneously. And we laughed so hard for a good hour. And it's just it's those moments, everybody.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's very special when you have those moments and you remember them. Keep them in your pocket, to pull
Yeah.
out when you need them too. Yeah, it's for me, I think, too, learning how to be creative with me just to be with me. It doesn't have to be something, because as a writer and you have a blog and stuff, you're always putting stuff out there where you want to share with people, you want to
Yeah.
exchange ideas with people. This is just like, okay, now I just got to be with me, and what do I want to do with me? How can I be my own best friend? I'll never forget a friend of mine. I said, "What'd you do the other day?" She said, I went on a date with myself.
Mhm.
And she took herself to the movies and a manicure and a pedicure. And it was just
Mhm.
a great way to describe, how she was just, loving herself up. And I just kind of love that. So that's the place I'm at with my creativity right now. How am I meeting Allison and enjoying being with her and finding creative moments in that sense?
So, do you have any kind of a morning or evening routine for
Oh,
you?
yeah. I mean, yeah, what do I do? I wake up, I swish around with coconut oil in my mouth and then spit it out and brush my teeth.
Mhm.
I then will come down and I will put all the dishes away. I'll walk the dog and then feed him. And then I will sit and do my Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles is a big, big, big book. And they have like lessons each day for 365 days. So
Mhm.
I will then do a lesson for 15 minutes or so. And then I get to work. And then I just go start working and so forth. At night, uh, at night I don't have as much of a spiritual practice. I've been trying to listen to podcasts a little bit as I get ready for bed. Um, but I would say my morning is kind of where I try to set my tone and get myself ready for the day from a more energetic connection.
Mhm. And I think it's just I love asking people because I love hearing the different answers and the variety
Yeah,
and understanding that it's yours and
right.
release the comparison of, well, it's not a morning routine until I meditate for 2 hours. Like that's not that's for some people, but some people that's not for.
That's
Like
right.
it really is what kind of brings you that sense of peace and like you said, like energetic alignment.
Yep,
Um,
that's a
I'll
good
never
way of alignment.
and what you said with the, getting up, doing the coconut oil, swishing it around, going downstairs, doing the dishes. I love doing the dishes. My daughter just told me that I really suck at it. She's like, I just went to grab a cup and oh my God, mom, really? I was like, well, you could do it. She's like, you were just saying how much you love doing it.
Oh God.
and, but it
We're the
really is.
opposite in my house. The opposite in my house. My husband and I are very meticulous with the dishes, and my kids are like not. So like
But
we're at
isn't
the
it a
point where it's like,
meditation?
forget it. We're just doing it. I mean, they're older. They're in their 24 and 30. So still we yell at them and we make a big joke out of it too. My kids, it's like the big joke in the house now, how the kids wash the dishes. So at least we made it fun, thank God. But yeah, I actually wouldn't mind if my husband would put the dishes away in the morning, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. I surrender and let it go. And I just put my podcast on while I do it. So at least, I multitask and make the most out of it.
Yes, I find it to be like a meditation. I love the warm water. I love the, just kind of the repetition of the movement.
Yeah.
For me, that's kind of a nice way to ease in to the day. And like you said, then with your dog, you have a dog, we have cats, but
Ah,
I've heard from other people too, with the dog going outside and being in nature and really being in that moment. What a great way to get aligned.
yeah, I had to get to that point because I've had dogs for like 25 years and I'm getting a little tired of taking care of dogs. I have to admit, I have a sweet, delicious little dog right now, but he's a little guy and they tend to be they need more stuff than the bigger dogs. But I
Mhm.
had to exactly do that. I had to shift that instead of like saying, shit, I got to go out in the 5 feet, it's 5 inches of snow right now, and blah, blah, blah. You just have to, like you said, oh, it's getting me outside. I'm breathing fresh air. The snow's higher than my dog, but I'll figure out a place for him to poop. We'll figure this out. So yeah, it does. There's always change in perspective, right?
The problem solving along the way.
Yes, definitely. Excuse my phone; it's ringing. I thought I turned it off. Oh, okay, good. It stopped.
Yeah, it's okay. So before we move on to the last and final question, I'm just curious about since at one time you really enjoyed playing instruments, is there any kind of music in particular that you do enjoy?
To listen to, or I don't really play music anymore right
Yeah,
now.
to listen to.
Oh gosh, I like everything. And I have to admit, my favorite music right now is my son's music. So he's been writing a lot of great songs and he tends to be very eclectic. But, I love everything. I love like funk, I love pop, I love classical. jazz. It just depends on my mood, kind of thing. I even put on dog music on the YouTube for my dog if I go out for class. They
Dude.
actually have. You can actually Google dog music, and they have a ton of videos of like dog music. Like, oh my god!
Oh
So
my. Now,
I will even listen to dog music.
now I'm curious. I want to know what dog music is. Does it have
You could
words?
yeah, well, it's just like, nice, soothing, instrumental music, basically, like meditative. But some of it is really cool and some of it's really awful. So you have to find the right. It's like, those smooth jazz stations on YouTube of the videos. Do you know those at
Yeah,
all?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some of them are like, oh my God, terrible. And then other ones are kind of good. So you just have to search around and find what works for you or for your dog. I don't even know if it makes a difference, but I just remember my father always putting music on when he left the house for his dog. So I figured, if dad was doing that, maybe I should do that too. So I put music on for Zeus if we go out.
I love that. And I know there is a comfort in us as humans and what the dogs actually want. I don't know unless
Yeah,
you're a dog whisperer and you
that's
can
right.
find out. But you just made me think of this is like a side note. But one time when we lived in New York and we went back to Jersey and Philly to visit family,
Okay.
and we had this answering machine where we could listen in um, to the apartment to
Okay.
find just to listen in, and
Wow.
the radio was on, and we didn't leave the radio on. So then, of course, we're like, "Oh my god, why is the radio on?" Blah blah
Oh
blah blah.
God.
We we got in touch with the super, and he went into our place, and the cat stepped on the
Oh God, the on button.
they stepped on the on button on the clock radio.
So they turned on the music. Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
they
so
turned
funny.
on the
I don't know.
music.
It's like, I don't know if he likes it or not. I can't really tell, but it just, I guess it makes us feel like if we were here, we wouldn't want to be alone, right? We'd rather have something.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want it. My son's always saying, "Oh, I want to be a dog next life." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? So freaking boring. They just sit around and do nothing until you take them outside. They have to wait till you feed them. I mean, they're dependent on everything from someone else. It just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't sound fun to me. And they chew their feet. I would never want to be chewing my feet. It does not sound fun. I don't know what my dog gets at it. I mean, I know it's an allergy thing, but it's like, oh my God, no, thank you very much. So anyway,
That's so funny. We could have like a whole conversation on this. Yeah, when our cats are, we have one really overweight cat. He's like 20 some pounds.
oh
Uh,
wow.
but but when he licks himself, he puts his leg up in this ballerina position. It's just so funny. It's like he looks so
I'm actually sitting here looking at my
like
dog chew on his foot as I'm talking to you. And I said his name and he looked at me. He's like, "What are you looking at?" It's like, please leave me alone. I'm messing around with my foot right now. It's just
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. Okay, everybody. So enough about that. So here we go to the last and final question, which is kind of like the ribbon on the box or whatever you want to call it. Little repetitive, but it ties it all together, which is why do you think creativity is important?
I don't think we have a choice. I mean, come on. We don't have a choice. This is the way we were created to be creative. I just don't think. I mean, if you look at the planet, everything is creative. So I don't think we have. I don't think we have much. I think it's just who we are and what we do. So I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it's a natural part of our planet, our system, our experience as humans. I think. I mean, you think about it. They talk about the. I'm just thinking of the term now. I can't remember it. I can't think of it. But anyway, it's the fact that every moment is everything is creating, everything is new, everything is changing. There's, in the word change, there should be the word creative somehow because we're always creating. I know creating may be different than creative, but to me, it's like, again, it's all kind of connected.
Mhm. Yeah. So everybody own these moments. Take
Own
out
these
of your vo-
creative moments. Own these creative moments.
take out of your vocabulary that I am not creative, because that does nothing but reinforce this old thinking that it has to be a certain way. Um,
Right.
so before we get to you telling how people can connect, I wanted you to acknowledge that Darcy had to go, but she said thank you so much.
Oh,
Great show.
wonderful.
So
Uh, Cool. Very cool. Thank you for telling me that too.
I'm sure you heard that. So, okay. So, Allie, how can people connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is email, which is AliSkylar1, ALISKYLAR1, number one, @gmail.com. And I'm always happy to reply and respond and connect. I'm also on LinkedIn, Ali Skylar, ALISKYLAR. And I look forward to speaking to anybody that's interested in talking to me. Give me a shout out. Email me. That would be wonderful. I have to tell you before we get off.
Yeah.
Great job. You are a great interviewer. Love this conversation. Really, you're just so good at listening and hearing and kind of figuring out and absorbing who the person is and then really asking the right questions and creating a very meaningful conversation. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, especially.
Oh.
So really with what you do and with who you are. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. That right back at you.
So before we say our goodbyes, is there anything that you feel that's top of mind or anything with this topic or Ah Crap, holy shift? Is there anything that's you feel like you want to share before we say goodbye?
Well, I think the only thing I would share is that remember that change and creativity kind of go hand in hand. And I write these things called shiftitudes. They're affirmative acronyms. And my acronym for change is can have a new great experience. And I think if you always remember that creativity and change is about having new great experiences, then you kind of open up your world to this really wonderful space. So that would be my last little sharing tip about creativity.
Perfect. That is the perfect way to end. And while I'm saying the goodbyes, can you please, Allie, put your email into the chat box below so our listener can see it?
Yeah, hang on a second here because my phone just did something weird. Let me just get back to.
So I think that whole shiftitude is like, everybody, you really want to reach out to Allie and get a window into her world some more. So we so appreciate you for listening in. We know that you could be doing anything with your hour, and we so appreciate you spending it with us. This space is all about connecting, inspiring, sharing stories, and lifting each other up. I feel like we have always needed this, but I think that we truly need it now more than ever. Yeah. So please like, follow, share, all of that stuff so we can reach more people to be able to do more good and get our messages out to the world. So on that note, and I know that Allie, you're going to put your email in there.
I'm trying, but it's telling me to verify my email. I hate to get technical.
Don't worry about it.
If I do that, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the lose the podcast here. So I'm going to wait. It's basically AliSkylar1 @gmail.com.
Yep. There we go. So I'm going to put it in there. So Allie, Skylar, SKYLAR 1 @gmail.com. Oops. Okay, everybody, here we go. Thanks for being patient. Okay, so that being said, wherever you are listening in the world, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening, and look forward to talking to you again soon. So goodbye, everybody. Feeling inspired? Let's just get rid of this, throw away this whole perfectionism thing, this whole concept that we have to know how to do everything. You know what? You don't. Let's just do things and try things and realize what we like and what we don't like. It's all part of the process. The self-awareness feels so good. You feel more connection to yourself, connection to others, and be a happier, more joyful person. Just imagine that. So you are where you are in the process. So you can dip your toe in the water to try new things at a slower pace, or you can dive right in. Here at I Am Creative and Express Yourself Publishing, we meet you where you are. So there are so many ways to check us out. Explore our experiential kits. They have everything in them that you need to try new things. You don't have to buy anything else but this kit and just explore. There's Creative Shui, which is 7 elements to joy and happiness. Through the publishing house, Express Yourself Publishing, multi-author books, coffee books, solo book opportunities. It is all about expression, all about it. And it's, again, just trying these things and realizing what you're good at. Don't all of a sudden think that you only fit into one box, because we don't. We are not made for boxes. There is also my TV show, I Am Creative. Check it out. The links are all in the body of this podcast. You can just click the link. And you know what? Don't say, oh, maybe I'll check it out tomorrow. Life's too short. Just click it. See what it's about. There is honestly no judgment. It's all about exploring the possibilities, expressing yourself, and expanding your thinking. I will give you the website, which is iamcreativephilly.com. So I am Creative Philly, PHILLY.com. And just remember that you are an expressive being, so own it. I am looking forward to hearing your story because we all have one.